those are right. Let's go validate those assumptions. So really, to the extent that you can keep this nice, transparent, and simple, not only will it be a lot easier for you to do, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get people to believe. So, yeah, this here's the case study that I was alluding to. Detailed walkthrough on the technique in the case study, basic library, rbcs-us.com. So you go to the resources page, and on the resources page you can access the basic library. The article is called Testing ROI, What IT Managers Should Know. So give it a try and see what you find. I think you're going to find, I'm very confident you're going to find that you are actually saving your company money, which is good. You're a savings center. And I bet most organizations don't know that, and I bet yours is probably one of them. So this is an opportunity to spend an hour or two doing some conversations with people and some quick calculations and so forth, and you can come up with a finding that is very revealing to you and to other people in the organization. Okay. I'm going to put up the advertisement here while we go through the Q&A process. We have now made it successfully through the end of the presentation without the office flying off to Kansas, as it sort of seemed like it was about to do at multiple points in time. We still have sideways rain going on out there, but we're here, safe and sound. So let me get this question panel open here and undock this thing. I can actually read it. Still kind of dealing with learning this change they made to the GoToWebinar interface as respect to the questions. Okay, great. I was hoping somebody would ask this question, and Rich did. How is the ROI insurance paradigm applied away from the waterfall world, especially in agile frameworks where everything is a sticky note on a whiteboard? Is the return here measured in terms of more accurate downward burn down charts collectively at the sprint of sprint levels? Well, yeah, I mean, you're putting your finger on one of the challenges of doing this in an agile world, which is like, do we have adequate metrics, and does the value added by testing change? So notice that one of the primary metrics that we needed to have was some sort of count of must-fix versus non-must-fix defects. Now, that can come out of a database like Bugzilla, or that can come out of hash marks made at the bottom of a whiteboard as the sprint continues. It doesn't really matter as long as I've got some amount of detail on that that can be put into a spreadsheet and ultimately used as a calculation. The whole insurance value of testing, I don't believe that actually changes much in an agile world. Ultimately, we're talking about confidence building and risk mitigation, right, which is a question of stuff we've covered. So that value would remain the same. Now, I think one of the things about Agile is if the developers do really well in terms of upfront removal of defects, then that's going to change the value that testing adds. And in the V model type of world or waterfall model type of world, which really isn't V model, it's just the way the waterfall typically worked. There tended to be this accumulation of defects over a long period of time, and then an attempt to scrub those defects out via levels of testing like unit test, integration test, system test, and so forth, which is kind of a weakness. Now it's true that the V model, properly applied, would actually not have that behavior, because you'd be instituting defect removal activities throughout the life cycle, and the final stages of testing really would be about confidence building almost entirely. But in Agile, I think what we're starting to see is companies that are doing Agile right are actually getting very high levels of upfront defect removal in unit testing, and then the later testing does become more a matter of acceptance. Now, it takes a while to get to that level of maturity, and it certainly doesn't happen easily, but certainly we are starting to see that with clients that have done a good job of integrating testing into their Agile life cycles throughout the entire sprint, and then it is more of a confidence building activity, more of an insurance activity, and we'll have to, as this continues and Agile does start to show more benefits, and maybe if people got serious about doing the V model again and actually did it properly, that you would see a shift into more of a confidence building role for testing, and that would then change the paradigm here. It would not be exactly the same as what I've shown. Let's see, got a question from Roy. Do you know the exact name or location in your web of the file shown? I just discussed that, but let me just go back here and just put that slide up again just for a moment. So you go to the basic library. That's on the resources page. You go to the home page at rbcs-us.com, go to the resources page, and then basic library, and you should find this file, testing ROI, what IT managers should know. If you don't, if you can't find it, certainly do let me know, and we will we'll get that up there. Roy says thanks, and you're quite welcome, Roy. Now I got a question here from Mark. Mark, good to hear from you again. Would you really bring in automation before reviews and walkthroughs? Well, should you or do you typically? I think that's the interesting distinction here. Certainly, it's been pretty well established over years and years that reviews have one of the highest returns on investment of any sort of quality assurance activity, because the cost of detecting a defect and removing it is so low during a review. And notice that reviews happen in an Agile world too. That is, they happen in real time, because the whole team is there going through, they should be going through things like user stories and acceptance criteria and those sort of things. So these are really well-established, proven techniques, and yeah, obviously it should be something that happens right away. I think the reality is that software test professionals are no different than other software engineering professionals, that we tend to really like to geek out. And it's just, there's just nothing particularly geeky about sitting around in a room with people discussing defects in documents. And there is something really geeky about building flashy automated test systems and creating a whole bunch of automated tests for it. So I think as a practical matter, yeah, I think what really does happen is that people do tend to start with automation, and of course, yeah, that's completely backwards. I mean, what you should be doing if you're trying to do business value driven testing, and I suggest we all should, is look at what the return on investment is for given process improvements that we could make, and make those process improvements in that order. But I don't think that we are particularly good at that, partly because we don't often understand the business value. But so certainly, yeah, I mean, anytime you're looking at process improvements, that you should think about relative business value. We do this when we do assessments for clients, so we give them a prioritized list of recommendations, and that prioritized list of recommendations is pretty much always driven by where we think they're going to get the most business value from. And business value, notice, can be money saved, but it'll also be in terms of risk mitigation, so you do have to look at that as well. Question here from Jerry Everett. Hi, buddy Jerry, right up the street. How are you holding on up there, Jerry? I guess you haven't blown away up in Canyon Lake yet. We're just about blowing away down here in Bull Verde. Jerry asks, please briefly describe the parameters considered and their respective importance when classifying a bug as must fix versus non-must fix.